Hey guys, Tommy again, back with some actually semi-high effort Predecessor content. I've been uploading the daily gameplays, which y'all seem to enjoy enough, but they're kinda killing my soul, so I knew I needed to upload a real video I was actually proud of sooner rather than later. Enough about me though, we're here to talk about Muriel, the Angel of Agora. In Paragon lore, she was Kalari's sister, but since Predecessor has no lore, all that we know of her background is that her back is round, you know what I mean? And before you judge me for that, I'll have you know that my first crush ever was Courtney Gears from Ratchet & Clank, so there's nothing that you could say to me that I haven't heard already from my own very disappointed father.
Are you feeling me, robots? I'm feeling you. I see.
Muriel is a support who primarily plays in the duo lane, providing massive shields and buffs for the team's carry. So before we get into it, let me explain something that, while potentially true for anyone at any time, is particularly true for enchanter supports like Muriel. You will lose your lane sometimes. Sometimes it'll be your fault, but sometimes it won't. Either way, your carry will blame you, so remember that this button here exists, and that a lost lane doesn't mean a lost game as long as you keep it cool. Let's be real here. Muriel, built as a traditional support, relies on her carry and the rest of her team to win, and even when you play perfectly, some games are in fact unwinnable.
It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness. That is life.
Keep in mind that if you get matched with dogwater teammates, those same teammates could eventually be on the enemy team next game or the game after that. So if you play the best you can as an individual, eventually you will climb. That being said, you still have the potential to make a massive impact on the game despite potentially being teamed up with absolute jobbers. Play for whoever is actually carrying the game for your team, even if it's not your carry. If you see your fed Grux off lane about to lose a fight and give up a shutdown, ult over to him and help him out. It's not always about the carry. Speaking of that ult, it's about time to talk about Muriel's abilities. Her ult, Reversal of Fortune, is the main reason she's my favorite support. Muriel targets an allied hero in the game anywhere on the map, grants them a massive shield, flies to their location, and knocks up enemy heroes in the area doing a little bit of damage. This ult is legitimately game-changing more than any other ult in the game as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, getting around the map has several uses. You can use it to escape or disrupt a 1v1 if you're a dishonorable sack of shit, or quickly base for an item and ult back in for an objective, a fight, or just to get back in the lane. Although I wouldn't do that last one too much. This ult makes you think like a jungler, a skill I wish more Predecessor players had, and that's because you kind of become a second jungler for your team when you use it. Always keep an eye, not just on the map, but on your teammates' health bars at the top of the screen. Although, keep in mind, just because someone on your team is low, that doesn't mean you should always ult them. You don't want to give the enemy 2 kills instead of 1, and if your current location is about to get pushed on, it might not be worth leaving it and letting the enemy take a tower, or kill your dogshit carry who should have known not to fight if I'm ulting away. What the fuck are you doing? Muriel's primary ability is Serenity, which fires a bolt of energy dealing damage to all enemies in its path and slowing them for just under 2 seconds. Targets slowed by Serenity take 8% increased damage from all sources. In lower ranked games, you can kind of just walk up in lane and use this on your targets for free. No one seems to respect the damage it does, or the damage that's going to hit them while they're slowed. Or maybe they just forget that it goes through minions, I don't know. Either way, this ability is your bread and butter, providing your primary damage and wave clear. It has a deceptively long range and a relatively short cooldown, and while the in-mana cost isn't low enough to where you can just spam it on repeat, you should be using this in lane often enough that the enemy isn't particularly confident walking at you. Muriel's alternate ability is Alacrity. She throws an orb out that either hits an ally, granting him a shield plus attack and movement speed, or flies over their shoulder because the game didn't register that it was supposed to go to them. This ability is wild. Sometimes it will curve 15 feet to get to your ally, and sometimes it just forgets to for some reason. Also, you can throw it at your feet to boost yourself. Once again, you have to be mindful of who's actually carrying the game within the context of the fight. Don't waste this on an 0-11 Sparrow unless that's the only option. If you can give it to your beefed up jungler during an early Fang fight, you probably should. Late game at full build though, this should almost always go in the carry. The attack speed steroid is just too much better on them than anyone else. Consecrated Ground is Muriel's secondary ability, deploying a bubble on the ground that shields allies that enter it and explodes after a second to do damage to all enemies inside the area. Listen up, don't waste this thing on poke. A, if a fight hasn't already started, it's pretty easy to walk out of. And B, the cost to damage ratio is pretty garbage compared to the cost for shield ratio. If you aren't shielding yourself or your team, hold on to it. You might need the shield later, and getting like 90 damage on the enemy steal is not gonna do shit. You can use it for wave clear combined with Serenity in a pinch, but for the most part, there's absolutely no reason to use it for anything other than shielding. This bubble belongs at the epicenter of a fight, wherever you can put it to shield the most people on your team. There are no diminishing returns for hitting multiple allies with it, so if you put it on top of 5 people, all of them get the full shield. Muriel's passive is Sentinel, which gives her and any ally affected by her abilities extra on-hit damage, which is another good reason to try to hit as many allies as you can with your shield. It may not be the most exciting passive, but it does help a lot in a fight when you can get it on multiple people. Lastly, I would like to remind everyone of Muriel's secret ability, Mute. Use this when the 019 Sparrow offlane is screeching at you asking why you didn't ult him. Some players are garbage and not worth saving. Don't forget that. Now let's get into the builds. For support Muriel, you almost always want to start the consort Crest, which I mostly upgrade into Tranquility. The other 2 options are situationally viable, but Tranquility is just more useful in my opinion, especially when you're building items that increase your heal and shield power. From there, my first 2 items are the same for 99% of my games, Martial and Prophecy. Martial is a great power spike for both you and your carry, and Prophecy is fantastic for making sure that you can contribute on the damage front and not just be a shield bot all game. If you're playing with a carry you can really trust, say in a competitive setting, you can sub in Lunaria or Crystal Tear for either one of these early. But this is where Mural builds can really start to deviate, and it all revolves around one factor. Are your teammates actually good at the game? If the answer is yes, finish your builds with items like Windcaller, Everbloom, Tainted Totem if they have a decent amount of healing. But if the answer is no, like I said earlier, Mural is a hard character to solo carry games on if your teammates are dogshit. So if things really aren't going well, it's time to stop investing in them and try to salvage what you can by building a little bit more aggressively. This is colloquially known as Battle Muriel. We're talking Time Warp, we're talking Oathkeeper, we're talking Cresselia. Hell, you can even build some shit like Spectra if you really need the DPS, like if your carry disconnects. You have a lot of options when building Muriel, but don't just rush into building like a demon. If you have people you can rely on your team, I would still build for them, focusing items that increase shield power and team-wide buffs. It can be hard to tell sometimes in the early game whether or not your teammates are good. That's why I normally give it 2 items before making the call on whether or not to transition the build. Battle Muriel can also be played with surprising success in the mid lane and the off lane. I've even made it work as a carry, and even a jungler, but I wouldn't exactly recommend it. When playing in solo lanes, just remember that you are extremely squishy, so spacing your opponent is more or less the most important factor. Just keep in mind any potential gap closers that your opponents have, like a crunch dash or whatnot, and play safe. You scale pretty fucking good actually, so stay alive and ult into fights to clean up. Speaking of which, did you know that Muriel is actually one of the best split pushers in the game? She's no Wukong, but the fact that she can ult out of danger or over to an objective makes her perfect for setting waves or pushing towers while your team starts pulling Prime or Fang or something. Real quick, let's go over the skins. Muriel's base skin looks great, and so do the variations on it, which include Green Sentinel, Red Sentinel, Amethyst, Midnight, Eclipse, and EA Eclipse. I count those last ones as a variation of the base because let's be honest, they are. Emerald gets a pass because it adds some sparklies. The Prestige skin looks sick as always, and Archangel is by far her best looking skin. That being said though, where's the really good shit? This character is begging for good skins. We could have Demon Muriel, Dragon Muriel, where her bolt unfurls big old dragon wings, so on and so forth. Come on guys, hop to it. Now before we wrap up, I just want to reiterate some tips that I touched on briefly before. Number 1, you don't have to ult somebody just because they're low or losing a fight. Hold that shit until it's actually necessary to give your team an advantage. Number 2, if someone is whining at you about not ulting them, mute them. Don't tell them to kill themselves. Leave that to the professionals. Number 3, your carry is not always the most important member of your team. They will always think that they are, but remember, winning the game is more important than their little feelings. You are supporting the team, not just one part of it. If the carry is poo, then no shields for you. And that just about wraps it up. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you have any heroes that you would like a smooth brain guide on, speak up. I might not do it, but the squeaky wheel gets the jizz or whatever they say. Good night.